Every great house needs a foundation, but my parents taught me that every great house actually needs a basement. A dark, unseen place where you store the things that support the structure but are never meant to be seen by the guests. For 32 years, I was that basement. The steering wheel of my 10-year-old sedan was freezing under my grip as I navigated the winding roads leading up to the estate. In the back seat, my 6-year-old twins, Finn and Ivy, were humming a Christmas carol, their voices innocent and completely unaware of the knot tightening in my stomach. I glanced at them in the rearview mirror. They were dressed in their best clothes, outfits I had saved up for months to buy, just so my mother, Beatrix, wouldn't have a reason to curl her lip in that specific way she did. It was Christmas Eve. The one night of the year when families are supposed to come together, bury hatchets, and celebrate love. But for me, driving to the sprawling manor where I grew up felt less like a homecoming and more like reporting for a court-martial. My name is Rowan. I am a landscape architect. Not just a gardener, as my brother likes to joke at parties, but a licensed architect who specializes in complex urban ecosystems. I work, or I used to work, for my family's firm, Arch Prime Development. It is one of the biggest firms in the state, founded by my father, Victor. But if you looked at the company website, you would never find my face. You would see Victor, the visionary founder. You would see Beatrix, the elegant co-founder. And you would see Declan, my older brother, the senior vice president of innovation. Me? I was the invisible hand. The one who stayed late to fix Declan's structural errors. The one who negotiated with city planners when Victor's temper blew a deal. I was the reliable engine in a car that Declan was driving off a cliff. As the iron gates of my parents' estate came into view, looming like the entrance to a fortress, I felt a familiar wave of nausea. The house was magnificent, I will give them that. A 3-story colonial revival mansion draped in tasteful white lights that probably cost more than my entire car. "Are we there, Mommy?" Finn asked, pressing his face against the cold glass. "Yes, baby," I said, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Remember what we practiced? We say thank you, we smile, and we stay close to Mommy." "I know," Ivy chirped. "And we don't touch Uncle Declan's things." My heart broke a little. At 6 years old, they already knew the rules of survival in this house. They knew that they were the second-class citizens in a hierarchy established long before they were born. I pulled the car into the long driveway. It was packed with luxury vehicles. There was my father's vintage sedan, my mother's imported SUV, and right in the center, blocking the main path like a shiny red accusation, was a brand-new sports car. Declan's new toy. I parked my beat-up sedan way off to the side, near the service entrance, half hidden by a hedge. It was instinct. Don't clutter the view. Don't remind them that not everyone in the family is a millionaire. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of pine and impending disaster, and opened the door. The front door opened before I could even ring the bell. Beatrix stood there, framed by the warm golden light of the foyer. She was wearing a silk dress that shimmered like liquid silver, her hair coiffed into a helmet of perfection. She looked beautiful. She also looked like she was inspecting a delivery she hadn't ordered. "Rowan," she said, her voice smooth and cool, like polished marble. She didn't step forward to hug me. She just stood there, blocking the entrance slightly. "You're late. Dinner was supposed to start 15 minutes ago." "Hi, Mom." "Merry Christmas," I said, ushering the twins inside. The traffic on the interstate was bad. Beatrix's eyes darted down to my coat. It was a wool blend I had bought on sale 3 years ago. "Is that the same coat from last year?" "Darling, really. It's starting to pill around the sleeves." "Appearances matter, Rowan. We have guests." "It keeps me warm," I said quietly, helping Ivy out of her jacket. "Grandma!" Finn yelled, running forward to hug her legs. Beatrix stiffened. She patted Finn on the head with the tips of her fingers, as if he were a stray dog that might shed on her silk. "Hello, Finn. Gentle, please." This dress is Italian silk. She pulled away quickly. Go on into the living room. Your cousin Paxton is already opening his pre-gifts. We walked into the grand living room. It smelled of expensive cinnamon candles and fresh pine. A 12-foot tree dominated the corner, loaded with ornaments that were probably family heirlooms. And sitting on the velvet sofa, looking like a king on his throne, was my brother, Declan. He held a glass of scotch in one hand and was laughing loudly at something my father, Victor, was saying. Beside them sat Paxton, Declan's 10-year-old son. Paxton was hunched over a tablet, blasting a video game at full volume, completely ignoring the room. Ah, the prodigal sister returns. Declan boomed, standing up. He was handsome in a slimy way, wearing a suit that cost more than my annual rent. His face was flushed with alcohol. We were just talking about the Green City pitch. Or should I say, my Green City pitch? Victor nodded, swirling his wine. Declan has been walking me through the final concepts for the global developers meeting on Tuesday. Brilliant work, son. Truly visionary. I felt a sharp pinch in my chest. The Green City project. My project. I had spent the last 3 years building it from scratch. Every tree placement, every drainage system, every line of code in the simulation, it was mine. Declan hadn't attended a single design meeting. I'm glad you like the concepts, Dad, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I spent a lot of late nights on those rendering algorithms. Victor waved his hand dismissively. Yes, you did the drafting, Rowan. We know. But Declan is the one who saw the big picture. He's the one who knows how to sell it. Execution is nothing without vision. Declan winked at me. A smug, proprietary wink. Don't worry, sis. I'll make sure to mention the team in the footnotes. I looked at Paxton on the couch. Hi, Paxton. Merry Christmas, I said. The boy didn't even look up. You're blocking the TV, he muttered. Declan laughed. He's a focused one, just like his old man. Leave him be, Rowan. He's training for the corporate world. The maid announced that dinner was served. We moved to the dining room, where a massive mahogany table was set with crystal and china. There were 6 seats set at the main table. Victor sat at the head. Beatrix at the foot. Declan took the seat to Victor's right. Paxton threw his tablet on the chair to Victor's left and sat down. I moved toward the remaining empty chair next to Declan, guiding Finn and Ivy. Oh, wait, Beatrix said, holding up a hand. Her voice was light, airy, as if she were suggesting a fun game. Rowan, honey, we actually need to discuss some sensitive numbers regarding the merger during dinner. Boring adult stuff. You know how it is. I froze. Okay? So, she continued, pointing a manicured finger toward the swinging door that led to the kitchen. I had the staff set up a lovely little table for you and the twins in the breakfast nook. It will be much more fun for them. They can be loud and messy, without disturbing the business talk. I looked at the empty chair at the main table. It was perfectly set. Mom, there are empty seats here. I'm 32 years old. I'm a licensed architect in this firm. I think I can handle business talk. Victor slammed his hand down on the table. It wasn't a hard slam, just enough to make the silverware rattle. Do not argue with your mother on Christmas Eve, Rowan. It is a simple request. Declan and I need to strategize for Tuesday. You would just be a distraction. Take the kids to the kitchen. Silence stretched across the room. I looked at Declan. He was smirking, inspecting his fingernails. He was enjoying this. He loved seeing me reminded of my place. Come on, Mommy, Ivy whispered, tugging on my hand. She looked scared. I like the kitchen. It's warm there. I swallowed the lump in my throat. It tasted like bile and ash. Fine, I said. Come on, kids. We ate our Christmas dinner in the kitchen, sitting on stools at the small island while the hired catering staff bustled around us preparing the next courses for the real family in the other room. We could hear their laughter drifting through the door. We could hear the clinking of expensive glass toasts. I cut up Finn's turkey with shaking hands. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was doing this for them, to keep the peace. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't keeping the peace. I was keeping my submission. After dinner, we were summoned back to the living room for the main event. The gift exchange. This was the moment Victor and Beatrix lived for, the display of wealth and benevolence. Everyone sit. Victor boomed, acting the part of the jolly patriarch. He handed a large, heavy box to Paxton. For the future CEO of Arch Prime. Paxton tore into the wrapping paper like a wild animal. He ripped the box open and gasped. No way. The Skymaster 5000. It was a professional-grade drone. The kind used for cinematic filming and high-end surveillance. It cost at least $2,000. But that wasn't all. Inside the box was also a thick cream-colored envelope. Paxton tore it open. What's this? Just paper? He complained. Read it, son, Declan said, leaning forward. A contribution of $5,000 has been made in your name to the Thorne Family Trust, Paxton read, stumbling over the words. Compound interest, my boy. Victor cheered. That is how wealth is built. You are born to rule, Paxton. You need to learn how to manage assets early. Cool, Paxton said, tossing the envelope aside to grab the drone controller. Can I fly this inside? Sure, just don't hit the chandelier, Declan laughed. Then, Beatrix turned to my children. She picked up 2 boxes. They were decently sized, wrapped in simple red paper. And for Finn and Ivy, she said, her smile tight and thin. My heart lifted slightly. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe, despite the kitchen dinner, they had actually gotten the kids something nice. Finn and Ivy ran forward, their eyes wide with excitement. They sat on the floor and tore open the paper. The room went quiet. Finn pulled out a heavy, gray piece of fabric. He unfolded it. It was an apron. A thick, industrial rubberized apron, the kind used by dishwashers in cafeteria kitchens. Ivy pulled out the same thing, along with a plastic bucket containing a scrub brush, a bottle of generic bleach cleaner, and a sponge. They looked at the gifts, confused. Then they looked at me. What is it, Mommy? Finn asked, his voice trembling. I looked at my mother. Mom? What is this? Beatrix took a sip of her wine. She didn't blink. She didn't stutter. Well, Rowan, we noticed that the twins are, how do I put this, a bit wild. They don't have Paxton's discipline or his academic focus. I thought it was important for them to learn a trade early. The world is full of chiefs, but someone needs to be the Indian. Someone needs to clean up so the leaders can lead. It's a practical gift. Character building. The silence in the room was deafening. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears like a roaring river. You gave my 6-year-old children cleaning supplies? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. For Christmas? Don't be ungrateful, Victor snapped from his armchair. Honest labor is nothing to be ashamed of, Rowan. Maybe if you had focused more on service and less on trying to outshine your brother, you wouldn't be driving that embarrassing car. Declan snickered. He was filming this on his phone. Suddenly, a high-pitched whirring sound filled the room. Paxton had activated the drone. The propeller spun violently, kicking up wind. He flew it low, buzzing it right over Finn's head. Finn ducked, covering his face with the gray apron. Hey! Paxton shouted over the noise of the drone. Look at me. I'm the pilot. He hovered the drone inches from Ivy's face. She screamed and scrambled backward, knocking over the bucket of cleaning supplies. The scrub brush rattled across the hardwood floor. Paxton laughed. A cruel, ugly sound that didn't belong in a child's throat. He landed the drone clumsily on the coffee table, stood up, and walked over to where Finn was cowering. Paxton looked down at his muddy winter boots, expensive Timberlands that were caked with slush from the driveway. He kicked his foot out, smearing a streak of mud onto the clean gray apron Finn was holding. "Here," Paxton sneered, pointing at the mud on his boot. "Get the mud off my boots, servant." "Grandma said that's your job." Declan roared with laughter. "That's my boy. Executive material right there. Tell them who's boss, Pax." Beatrix chuckled softly, shaking her head as if it were just boys being boys. "Oh, Declan, stop it," she said, but she made no move to correct him. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It wasn't a scream. It was the sound of a heavy steel cable finally parting under 30 years of tension. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I felt a strange, cold calm wash over me. It was the clarity of a soldier who realizes the war is lost, and the only thing left to do is burn the bridge. I stood up. I walked over to Finn and Ivy. I took the industrial aprons from their hands. I took the bucket, the scrub brush, and the bleach. "Mommy?" Ivy whimpered. "It's okay, baby," I said. My voice was steady. Terrifyingly steady. I walked over to the fireplace, where a roaring fire was crackling behind the grate. I tossed the aprons into the flames. The rubberized material sizzled and curled instantly, sending up a plume of black, acrid smoke. I dropped the plastic bucket into the trash can next to the wet bar. "Rowan!" Beatrix gasped, standing up. "Have you lost your mind? That is disrespectful." "Get out," Victor growled. "If you cannot appreciate our generosity, you can leave." "We're leaving," I said. I turned to my children. "Put your coats on. Now." "You're making a scene," Declan jeered, still holding his phone up. "Going to run away and cry? Make sure you take your trash with you." I stopped at the doorway. I looked at them. My father, purple with rage. My mother, clutching her pearls in fake shock. My brother, smirking like the bully he had always been. And my nephew, learning to be a monster. "Enjoy the drone, Paxton," I said softly. "And Declan? Good luck with the presentation on Tuesday." "I don't need luck," Declan scoffed. "I have your work. And unlike you, I know how to sell it." I didn't respond. I opened the door and walked out into the freezing night. The cold air hit my face, drying the tears I hadn't realized I was shedding. The drive back to my condo was terrifyingly quiet. Usually, the twins would be asking about Santa or playing games, but tonight they were silent. They clutched the empty space in their laps where real gifts should have been. "Mommy?" Finn asked from the back seat after we had been on the highway for 20 minutes. "Does Grandma hate us?" I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. "No, sweetie. Grandma is confused. She doesn't know how to love people properly." "I don't want to be a janitor," Ivy whispered. "You won't be," I said fiercely. "You are going to be whatever you want to be. You are smart, and you are kind, and you are worth 1,000 of them." I didn't turn on the radio. I needed the silence to process the fact that I had just orphaned myself. For 32 years, I had been the fixer. The safety net. I had swallowed every insult, every overlook, every stolen credit, hoping that one day, if I was good enough, if I worked hard enough, they would see me. But as the mile markers blurred past, I realized I wasn't grieving the loss of my parents. I was grieving the time I had wasted trying to buy a love that was never for sale. When we got home, I carried the sleeping kids to their beds, tucked them in, and kissed their foreheads. Then I walked straight to my home office. It was a small room, converted from a walk-in closet, but it was my sanctuary. I didn't make tea. I didn't change out of my clothes. I sat down and opened my laptop. I am the lead landscape architect for Arch Prime. But for the last 3 years, I have been ghost designing a project called the Eden Project. It was supposed to be my legacy. A massive, eco-friendly urban park system that used AI to manage water flow and plant growth. It was a $10 million contract. Victor had insisted I do the work in the shadows. Let Declan be the face, he had said. Clients trust a male lead more. It's just business, Rowan. I logged into the firm's private server. My plan was simple. I was going to download a copy of my files, watermark them aggressively, and then resign. I would leverage the files for a severance package. But the moment my screen flickered to life, I stopped breathing. The login prompt appeared. I typed in my password. Access denied. I frowned. Maybe I mistyped. I tried again. Access denied. Account suspended. My stomach dropped. I tried to access the cloud backup. User not found. I pulled up the terminal to check the server logs, a backdoor access I used for debugging the simulation. The text scrolled across the screen in green lines. User, admin, Declan_M, action, move files target /projects /Eden_master /source destination /private /Declan_secure_drive action, delete user, Rowan_L action, scrub metadata. They weren't just locking me out. They were erasing me. I watched the progress bar on the log. It was already at 100%. The files were gone from the shared drive. Moved to Declan's encrypted private drive. And my user account had been deleted entirely. I grabbed my phone and dialed Gavin, the head of IT. Gavin was a good guy. We had shared coffees and complained about Declan's incompetence for years. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Straight to voicemail. Then, a text message popped up on my screen. It was from Gavin. I'm sorry, Ro. Victor came in personally with security. They watched me do it. They forced me to scrub your credentials and wipe your remote backups. He threatened to fire me and blacklist me if I didn't. I have a mortgage. I'm so sorry. I stared at the phone. Tears pricked my eyes, hot and angry. They had planned this. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision because I threw the aprons in the fire. They had the IT team on standby on Christmas Eve. They knew I would try to take my work. They knew the value of the Eden Project. They wanted the golden egg, but they wanted to kill the goose. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Declan. No Merry Christmas. No apology. Just a photo. It was a selfie. He was sitting in the back of the luxury car, holding a crystal flute of champagne. He was wearing that smug, untouchable grin that had gotten him out of every speeding ticket and failed class his entire life. The caption read, "Thanks for the inheritance, little sister. Don't worry, I removed your ugly watermark from the code. I'll put my name on the title block so it actually sells. You stick to sweeping. Security will be waiting if you try to come to the office on Tuesday." I didn't throw the phone. I didn't cry. I felt the temperature in the room drop 20 degrees. This wasn't just a stolen credit. This was a hostile takeover of my life. Declan knew he couldn't design a doghouse, let alone an urban ecosystem. He needed my work to land the partnership with the Global Developers Group. But Declan made a critical error. He thought the Eden Project was just a set of pretty 3D drawings. He thought it was just geometry and textures. He didn't know about the Gardner protocol. I sat forward in my chair, the glow of the monitor reflecting in my eyes. I opened a command terminal on my personal laptop, a machine that was never connected to the company network, and therefore, couldn't be wiped by Gavin. Declan had the files. Yes. He had the blueprints. He had the 3D renders. But the Eden Project wasn't just a drawing. It was a simulation. It was a living, breathing algorithm that calculated water tables, sunlight growth patterns, and structural stress in real time. 3 years ago, when I started building the core models, I embedded a script into the foundation of the virtual city. I called it the Gardner Protocol. It was my insurance policy. A dead man's switch. The code was buried deep in the geometry metadata. To the naked eye, it looked like random noise. But it was a listening script. It required a specific digital handshake from my personal device every 48 hours. If it didn't receive that handshake, the simulation would assume the creator was gone. And it would begin to decay. I checked the status of the script. It was active. Time since last handshake, 24 hours. Time until decay initiates, 24 hours. That meant the decay would start exactly on Tuesday morning. During the presentation. But there was a catch. The handshake protocol I designed wasn't remote. To prevent accidental detonation over bad internet, I had hard-coded it to require a local connection. I had to be on the same Wi-Fi network as the presentation computer to either renew the license or accelerate the decay. I needed to be in that room. I couldn't get into the building. Declan had made that clear. Security would be looking for me. I needed a way in. A Trojan horse. I scrolled through my contacts until I found a number I hadn't used in 2 years. Silas Thorne. Silas was the CEO of Thorne Dynamics, Archprime's biggest rival. He was ruthless, cold, and brilliant. 2 years ago, I had anonymously tipped him off about a zoning violation on one of his sites that my father was trying to exploit to shut him down. I did it because it was the right thing to do. My father was bribing officials to falsify the report. Silas had tracked me down and thanked me. He said, "If you ever need a favor, call me." It was 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I hit dial. He picked up on the second ring. "Rowan? This is a surprise." His voice was deep, calm, and utterly awake. "Silas. I need a favor. A big one." "I'm listening." My family stole the Eden project. They are pitching it to the global developers on Tuesday morning. They wiped my name, locked me out, and fired me. Silence on the other end. Then, a low chuckle. "I warned you about Victor. I told you he eats his young." "I know. You were right. Look, I can destroy the presentation. I have a kill switch embedded in the code. But I need to be physically in the room to execute it. They have blacklisted me from the building. And you want me to smuggle you in? You're bidding on the same contract, Silas. If Declan wins, you lose a $50 million opportunity. If I tank his presentation, the contract is open again. And, if you get me in, I'll come work for you. I'll bring the Eden project with me. The real version." There was a long pause. I held my breath. "Meet me at the Starbucks on 5th and Main at 7 a.m. tomorrow," Silas said. "Bring your laptop. If you can prove the code is yours, you're on my team." The next day, Christmas morning, was a blur of planning. Silas was impressed by the Gardner Protocol. He agreed to bring me in as his external consultant. But I needed one more piece of the puzzle. I needed to know the technical setup of the room. I texted Mina. Mina was Declan's executive assistant. She was a sweet girl, 24 years old, fresh out of college. Declan treated her like garbage. He made her pick up his dry cleaning, yelled at her for his mistakes, and made inappropriate comments about her skirts. She hated him. "Rowan, Merry Christmas, Mina. I know you're probably working. I need help." They fired me. The response came instantly. "Mina, oh my God, Rowan. I heard. It's awful. Declan is strutting around like he owns the place. He made me come in today to format the slides. I hate him. Rowan, I'm going to take him down on Tuesday. But I need the network details for the boardroom. Can you get them?" 3 minutes later, a photo appeared on my phone. It was a picture of the IT setup sheet taped to the podium. Network, conf_room_a_secure password, visionary_2025 presentation time, 9 a.m. sharp. Got you, I whispered. I spent the rest of the day coding the final execution command. I wasn't just going to stop the simulation. I was going to make it scream. Tuesday morning broke with aggressive sunshine. The kind that glares off glass buildings and hurts your eyes. I stood outside the real estate exchange, a fortress of steel and glass where the city's skyline was bought and sold. I adjusted my blazer. It was a new one, bought with the last of my credit card limit. Sharp, black, professional. No more wool blends. Today, I was an executioner. I waited by the side entrance as instructed. A sleek black limousine pulled up. The window rolled down, revealing Silas Thorne. He looked impeccable in a charcoal suit. "Get in," he said. I slid into the cool leather seat. "Ready?" he asked. "More than ready." We pulled up to the VIP entrance. Security was tight. I saw the head of security, a man named Brutus who worked closely with my father, scanning badges. Silas stepped out, flanked by his legal team. I walked right beside him, holding my laptop case like a shield. Brutus stepped forward, his eyes widening when he saw me. "Mr. Thorne. You're cleared. But, she can't go in. Ms. Rowan is on the do not admit list." Silas didn't even break stride. He handed Brutus a clipboard. "She is my lead technical consultant. If you deny her entry, you are denying my legal counsel access to the bid. I'll have this entire proceeding halted for an unfair trade practice investigation. Do you want to call the chairman and explain why the bid is delayed, or do you want to step aside?" Brutus hesitated. He looked at the list, then at Silas's stony face. He stepped aside. "Clear," he grunted. We walked into the boardroom. It was massive. A long oval table sat in the center, surrounded by 50 chairs filled with investors, city planners, and the board of the Global Developers Group. At the front of the room, standing on a raised stage, were my parents and Declan. Victor looked like a statesman. Beatrix was glowing in pearls. And Declan. Declan looked every inch the visionary genius he pretended to be. They were laughing, shaking hands with the chairman. Then, they saw me. Victor's smile dropped. Beatrix gasped and clutched Declan's arm. Declan stared at me, his eyes narrowing. He took a step forward as if to shout, but then he saw Silas Thorne sitting next to me. He froze. He couldn't make a scene in front of the investors. He shot me a look of pure venom. "Go home," he mouthed. I smiled at him. A small, cold smile. I opened my laptop and set my phone on the table. "Ladies and gentlemen," the chairman announced. "Let's begin. Archprime, the floor is yours." Declan took the microphone. The lights dimmed. Behind him, a massive 20-foot LED wall flickered to life. The Eden Project appeared. It was breathtaking. A lush, vibrant 3D city pulsing with life. Trees swayed in the virtual wind. Water flowed through transparent canals. "This ecosystem," Declan began, his voice smooth, practicing the script I had written for him, was born from a vision I had 3 years ago. It is not just architecture. It is a philosophy. A way to integrate nature and technology. The investors were nodding. They were captivated. "I spent thousands of hours refining the growth algorithms," Declan lied, gesturing broadly. "I wanted to create a world that breathes." I looked down at my phone. I opened Wi-Fi settings. Network, conf_room_a_secure password, visionary_2025 connected. I opened the terminal app on my phone. The Gardner protocol pinged immediately. Status, handshake verified. Admin access restored. Current user, Declan_M unauthorized, command awaiting. I looked up at the stage. Declan was basking in the applause. He pointed to a complex water filtration system on the screen. And here, the AI automatically adjusts the water levels based on rainfall. I typed into my phone, execute command, wither. I didn't press enter yet. I waited. I waited until he said the words. This project is my legacy, Declan said, spreading his arms. It is the future of Arch Prime. I pressed enter. It happened instantly. On the massive screen behind him, the sky of the virtual city turned a sickly, violent red. The lush green trees didn't just disappear, they withered. In seconds, the leaves turned brown and fell off. The branches twisted into skeletal shapes. The water in the canals turned black. The investors gasped. What is happening? Someone whispered. Declan turned around. His eyes went wide. Just a glitch. 1 second. He frantically clicked the remote. But the simulation kept decaying. The buildings began to crumble. The glass shattered. The Eden was turning into a wasteland. Then, a massive dialogue box appeared in the center of the screen, overlaying the destruction. It was bright red with bold white text. Critical alert, unauthorized user detected. License violation. Project author, Rowan, last name. Status, unpaid. Stolen property. Initiating data wipe. The room erupted into chaos. Stolen? The chairman stood up. What is the meaning of this? It's a hack. Declan screamed, his voice cracking. Someone is hacking us. Cut the feed. Victor was running toward the technician booth, yelling at the poor AV guy. Turn it off. Turn it off. But the text remained. And then, a new line appeared, deleting source files. 10%. 40%. 80%. No. Declan held. My files. Silas Thorne stood up slowly. He buttoned his jacket. The room went quiet, looking at the rival CEO. It appears, Silas said, his voice booming without a microphone, that Arch Prime has a significant intellectual property dispute. As the author's name clearly states Rowan, and she is sitting right here as my consultant. He gestured to me. Every head in the room turned to look at me. I didn't hide. I looked straight at Declan. I think it is safe to say this pitch is fraudulent, Silas finished. This meeting is adjourned. The chairman shouted. Victor, we will be speaking with our lawyers. Declan looked at me. He looked small. The golden boy aura was gone, replaced by the panic of a child who just realized he broke the one toy he couldn't replace. I closed my laptop. Let's go, Silas. We walked out of the boardroom, leaving the chaos behind. But I knew it wasn't over. We reached the underground parking garage. I was walking toward Silas's limo when I heard running footsteps. Rowan. It was Victor. He was red-faced, panting, with Beatrix and Declan trailing behind him. Silas signaled his bodyguards to step back. I've got this, I told him. Victor lunged at me, grabbing my arm. You ungrateful little witch. Do you have any idea what you just did? You destroyed the company. That contract was worth $50 million. I yanked my arm away. I didn't destroy anything, Dad. I just repossessed my property. You taught me that, remember? Protect your assets. I will sue you. Declan screamed. He was crying. Actually crying. I'll sue you for sabotage. Go ahead, I said calmly. Discovery will be fun. I have the logs of you stealing the files. I have the texts from Gavin. I have everything. Beatrix stepped forward. The mask was gone. She looked old and tired. Rowan, please. We are family. Fix it. Give us the backup files. We can still save the deal. Don't do this to your brother. Family? I laughed. It was a dry, hollow sound. Family doesn't give their grandchildren cleaning supplies for Christmas, Mom. Family doesn't tell their daughter she's born to be a servant. Victor sneered. You think you've won? You're nothing. And guess what? You're broke. I just called the bank. I'm draining the joint family emergency fund. The one your grandmother left us. I have power of attorney over that account. I'm taking every cent you have to pay for this mess. I stared at him. Then, I started to smile. The joint account? I asked. The one at First National? Yes. Victor gloated. You're destitute. Dad, I said softly. I moved that money 3 days ago. Victor froze. What? I knew you. I knew exactly who you were. The moment I saw the aprons, I knew I had to protect myself. I transferred my share, plus the interest, into a secure trust for Finn and Ivy. The account is empty, Dad. Just like your company. Victor turned pale. He pulled out his phone, frantically checking his banking app. His hands were shaking so hard he dropped it. You thief, he whispered. No, I said, opening the door to Silas's car. I'm just the janitor. I finally cleaned up the mess. I got in the car. As we drove away, leaving them standing in the dark, exhaust-filled garage, I felt lighter than I had in 30 years. Silas handed me a folder. Employment contract. Head of Sustainable Design. Double your previous salary. Full benefits. I looked at the contract. Then I looked at the text message on my phone. It was from Declan. Please row. I'm ruined. Help me. I deleted the message. Then I blocked the number. A month has passed. Arch Prime is being liquidated. Investors pulled out after the fraud scandal. Victor and Beatrix are selling the estate to pay off debts. Declan is facing criminal charges for corporate espionage. Me? I'm busy. Finn and Ivy love their new school. And I'm finally building the Eden Project, but this time, my name is carved into every single stone. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder. They are still my family. They are suffering. Did I go too far? Should I have just walked away and let them fail on their own, or was burning it all down the only way to be free? Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed seeing the golden child get what he deserved, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more stories. Let me know in the comments, would you have forgiven them?